Hi, you are welcome to our SPSS and Statistics Training Program. We are on the second lesson. Today we are looking at SPSS data coding and entry for achievement test instrument. My name is Williams and I'll be your instructor. Let's link up on Say Africa on YouTube and Facebook and Say Africa 1 on Instagram and Twitter. Alright, so let's say you collect data with an instrument like this, achievement test instrument. So part 2, we are starting from part 2 because we have already coded the demographic information. You can refer to our previous video if you have any issues with that. So for an achievement test instrument, this is how it looks like. So we have test items where respondents are supposed to solve and get the options or the answers correct. So it is like an exam where respondents are writing. It is an achievement test instrument and not a questionnaire because respondents are not providing their opinion. They are answering to show the knowledge they have. So it can be in your field of study, accounting, science, any other field you are. If it is a test, then it is an achievement test instrument. We can also have theory questions on an achievement test instrument. We are going to go through how to code from multiple choice items to theory type items. Now let's start. So let's quickly go through the issues. All right. So for multiple choice items, there are two coding options. Option 1, I call it A to D coding. Let me explain it. Let's take item 1 as an example. If you want to go by A to D coding option, then this is what you are going to do. If your interest is to find out how many people chose A, how many people chose B, how many people chose C, and how many people chose D, it means that you have to code these four options separately because you want SPSS to give account of how many people chose A, B, C, D. So we are going to tell SPSS that whenever it sees 1, you mean A, it sees 2, you mean B, it sees 3, you mean C, and when it sees 4, you mean D. You will go for this option if you are interested in knowing what percentage of frequency is attributed to each of these options. For example, the four options you see here, A to D, are not just random options. They are options coming out of some particular misconceptions. In solving this particular question, I deliberately made some mistakes that resulted in these options apart from the correct option. So when someone is choosing B, then I want to be able to associate what percentage of my respondents possess that particular misconception that led to the choosing of this option as their correct answer. So my focus is not just about knowing what percentage of my respondents got this item correct or those who got it wrong, but my focus is to locate what percentage of them chose which of these options. The same applies to this. I want to use A to D coding option, and my interest is to know what frequencies are attributed to each of these. So I'll code them 1, 2, 3, 4 for A, B, C, D. If your interest is not to find out what percentage or what frequency chose which option, then you may want to go for the second option, which I call wrong and correct coding option. In that case, you are going to split the coding into two. That is, you are going to put all wrong options on one side and then the correct answer on one side, because there is only one correct answer out of these four options. So you may want to code the wrong options as wrong, maybe 0 for wrong and 1 for correct. You can change these numbers because they are just representations. However, for logic's sake, you may want to give the smaller number to wrong and the bigger number to correct. The same applies to this. Let's say the red options are wrong, then A, B, D will be wrong, which we are calling 0, and then C will be correct, which we are calling 1, which can be changed. If you are not interested in using 1 and 0, you can change it to whichever numbers you want. For theory options, for theory items, you may want to code them as wrong and right or wrong and correct. So 0 for wrong, 1 for correct. And these numbers can also be changed. If you are not interested in 0 and 1, you can change them to 1 and 2. But of course, use the smaller number for wrong and the bigger number for correct for logic sake. So let's go and see how the coding would be done on the SPSS. Alright, so on your screen is a sample of a teacher-made achievement test instrument that has been marked. So we can see the person scored 3/6. The person had item 1 correct, item 2 wrong, item 3 wrong, item 4 correct. And there are some theory questions. He had item 5 correct, but he had item 6 wrong. I am going to use coding option A to D to code item 1 and 2. And then I'll use coding option wrong and correct to code item 3 and 4. And then I'll also code the theory questions using wrong and right, as we have explained early on. So let's go to our SPSS and see. So on our SPSS, there are some information. These are the demographic information we coded in our previous lesson. So we will continue from here because, of course, there will be demographic information on the achievement test instrument when data is being collected. So item 1, we are using A to D coding option. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4. So we know the rules for the name column. It doesn't accept spaces and we can't start with a number. So we can label the first item as question 1, Q1. You can write it in full, but you make sure that there is no space. So it accepts it and we go to the label. The label is question 1. I do not want to simplify the expression 9y blah 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 here at the label column because it will take time, but I can label it as question 1 because I know what question 1 is on my instrument. Now I come to the value. Because we are using A to D coding option, we said the value 1 means the person chose A. We add value 2 means the person chose B. We add value 3 means the person chose C. And the last one, value 4, means the person chose D. If you make a mistake, the same rules apply. You click on it and you can remove. So I've removed the A. Let's say it was an error. So I enter 1 and then I enter A. It comes back to where it's supposed to be and so on. I click OK, so I'm done. Then I come to missing is okay, column is okay, align is okay. I come to measure. Because we are grouping them, we are making them categorical. The numbers do not mean anything. They are just representing option A, B, C, D. So it is a categorical variable. But what kind of categorical variable? Because our focus is just to find out which people chose what, then we can go for nominal because order is not important here. Question 2. The same coding option A to D. So we go onto the SPSS Q2, it accepts it. Question 2. Now, because it is also going to follow the same procedure as the coding option for question 1, you don't need to go through this process of 1 is for A, B is for 2, and so on. You can simply do this. Right click on it, copy and paste. So it means that I have copied the options for question 1 and I've pasted in question 2 because they all have 1 for A, 2 for B, 3 for C, 4 for D. You cannot copy any other question that has different options for another one. But if they have the same coding options, you can click on it, copy, and paste here. If you cannot go through that, you can also do that A, B, C, D. So it will come as you see on your screen. All right, so we choose the measure as nominal. So we are done coding item 1 and 2. Let's go to item 3, but I want to code item 3 using the wrong and correct options. So when we see the options for item 3, A, B, C, D, there is only one correct answer. So we are going to code that correct answer as correct. And the number we are using to represent correct is 1. And then we are also going to code the other 3 options which are wrong as 0. So 0 for wrong and 1 for correct. You can use any other numbers, but of course, for logic's sake, you may want to use the smaller number for wrong and the bigger number for correct. So let's go to SPSS. Question 3, Q3, it accepts it. Question 3. And we want to code with wrong and correct. So 0 means wrong, I add, and 1 means correct. You can use 1 and 2. Alright, so we choose our measure and we are making it ordinal because wrong is lesser than right. But someone may want to go for nominal if his focus is just about grouping sake. Item 4. We do the same thing. Q4. Question 4. Because we have coded wrong and right already at 3, we can copy and paste. And then we choose this ordinal. So we are done coding for 3 and 4, wrong and right options. The theory will also be coded as wrong and right. So it follows the same pattern as 3 and 4. So Q5. Question 5. Because it is following wrong and right, I can copy and paste. And then Q6, question 6. I can copy and paste because it's following the same wrong and right option. And I can choose my measure, ordinal, and so on. So we are done coding the 6 questions on our instrument from the multiple choice to the theory type questions. Let's go to how we enter the data. So SPSS, we come back to our data view. So we can see that the codings we did have appeared here. The numbers we have here are the demographics we did in our previous lesson. So the new codings have come. So let's try and enter some random numbers and see how it will look like. So question 1. We coded that if the person chose A, it is 1. If he chose B, it is 2, and so on. So let's say he chose B for question 1. So the first participant, this is the first person where I've highlighted. He chose D, so we enter 4. And question 2, he chose C, we enter 3. Question 3 was coded wrong and right. So let's say he got it wrong, so 0. And he got question 4 correct, so 1. He got the theory question correct, so 1. And got the last theory question wrong, so 0. And so on. So you do this for all your participants. So participant 2, let me do that, and then you can continue later. So let's say he chose A, he chose B, got this one right, got this one wrong, got this one wrong, and got this one correct. So you do this till you enter all the responses of your participants or your respondents till you get to the last person. Where I have ended, it means I've entered the data for only 2 people. But there is one interesting thing you need to add. Look at this. On our achievement test instrument, there is also a total score. This is what you may need for most of your inferential tests. So you may want to code total score as well. So you go to your variable view, and we are coding another variable called total score. Because the total score is not categorical, we are not going to do any value entering, but we'll choose the measure, and the score will be a continuous variable, so it is going to be a scale. So when we come to the data view, the total score option also appears, and this is what you are going to do. When you pick the first person's script, you enter his options: D, C, wrong, right, right, wrong, then enter his total score. Let's say he scored 8 out of 20, then you enter 8. Let's say the second person scored 6, you enter 6. But there is something important I need to tell you. If you are coding multiple choice items, you either go for A to D coding option or you go for wrong and right. You cannot put them together like I've done. I did them together because we are practicing how to code using the 2 options. So it's either you are coding with A to D option or you are coding with wrong and right. You need to be consistent throughout so that your data will have the same nature. Thank you very much for learning with us. You can continue entering random numbers here for our descriptive analysis in our next lesson. Bye.